Ripples on Deep Water by Orphaned Account on EU3. Episode 31. Chapter 30. Dancing in the Dark. Hitoshi would be the first to admit the first reason he'd had for his crush on Zuku was that the support student was short and cute. Then, short and cute became darkly adorable and 160 centimeters of pure badassery. And he had no idea what to do with himself. Sue him if the stoic, exhausted kind of guys that could end his life in a heartbeat were more or less his type. And yeah, that wasn't exactly healthy, but whatever. And then, turned out the aforementioned support student had a heart of gold, mind of diamond, and tragic backstory to rival Batman's. It really didn't help that Suku was the first person in a long time outside of his family that didn't reject him socially over his quirk. The whole ramble about how useful his quirk was would have moved a more emotive person to tears. He just wanted to make the small boy smile more, laugh a little, forget the horrors of his past. If Zuko could help Hitoshi forget how horrible his life was before they met, then Hitoshi was determined to make Zuko's current life a little better. Hitoshi glared over at his alarm clock, as if that would make his insomnia vanish. 2:31. It told him in the dark green lettering, just like Zuko's eyes. Dear Diary, the gay thoughts are at it again. He sighed loudly, cutting off the thought before it could proceed. He really doesn't need to think about how beautiful his, probably straight, best friend is at 2 in the morning. He's pining so hard that he'd only be half surprised that an evergreen doesn't just sprout from his chest. At least, Hanahaki doesn't exist, thanked Kami. Something hits his window, and Hitoshi sits up, alarmed. A long silence, then something glances off the side again, with a click. Hitoshi pushes off his blankets and weasels on the hoodie and basketball shorts, wandering over to the window and glaring down into the street. I swear to Kami, if Jitsu is trying to get me to go shirtless to the window again, I'm gonna yeet her into a Oh, that's not his annoying preteen neighbor. Zuko was standing there, his arms wound up, apparently to throw another rock. His eyes were wide, apparently not expecting him to appear in the window. Hitoshi shoved the window up, pressing his nose against the screen as he smirked down at the friend he was definitely not just gay pining over. Do I look like fucking Rapunzel? Go to the damn door if you want in. That was all the prompting the support student needed before striking over to the door, and Hitoshi most certainly didn't take the stairs 2 at a time to let him in. The hell are you doing up? Couldn't sleep. Suga murmured back, and Hitoshi noticed his friend's eye bags were darker than usual, even in the dimming lighting. You? Insomnia's a bitch. Hitoshi turned on his heel and headed towards the kitchen. A figure appeared in the darkness, easily reaching 2 meters and towering over the two boys. Zugu stopped dead, his eyes glinting in the low light, and Hitoshi sighed. Dad, stop trying to freak us out. The light flicked on, revealing a man who honestly looked like an older version of himself. Slightly longer, darker hair that wound up in an unruly mane. Scruff dusted his chin, and a lazy smile adorned his face. The circles under his eyes were almost black, deep, hollowed against his youthful face. I'm allowed to sneak up on the kid my son is sneaking in at the ass crack of night. Zuko shrugged before sticking his hand out. Midoriya Izuku. Hitoshi saw the face of recognition and mischief. The support kid that won the festival with my boy? Huh. Yes, sir. Shinzo Hajime. His dad introduced, taking Zuko's hand and shaking it firmly. If you're wondering why an adult is up, my quirk's insomnia. I haven't slept since I was 4. The shorter boy tilted his head slightly. You worked in Medicare. It was more of a statement of a fact, and Hitoshi's father laughed. Yeah, I just got back from a 72-hour shift last night. How could you tell? You smell like antiseptics, was the vague response before Sugu wandered to the fridge, apparently content making himself at home. After a pause, he grunted. Fuck, I'm so tired I'm looking for coffee in the fridge. Go to sleep, Hitoshi suggested, only to be met with a sardonic stare that clearly stated, oh gee, why didn't I think of that? Okay, maybe not. Something bugging you? Zuko shrugged, starting to rifle through the cabinets, and Dad snorted. Kid, it's in the third cabinet from the left, behind the blue container. The Shirta boy grunted his thanks before following the instructions, pulling out a packet of coffee beans and looking at it approvingly before going about preparing the coffee maker. Ooh, who's here? A young girl stumbled into the room with wide, pale blue eyes. Hitoshi rolled his eyes, hands lifting perceptibly to sign along with his words. Zuko, this is my baby sister Akihito. She's profoundly deaf. Not a baby, Akihito murmured. Zuko tilted his head slightly, vice pensive. 6. 6, huh? Zuko set aside the coffee grounds to crouch down, his lips moving deliberately and slowly. And Itoshi felt his heart flutter in his chest. That's pretty old. Akihito nodded proudly, then raised her hands and slowly signed her words, which she stumbled through awkwardly. Itoshi rolled his eyes fondly. I'm Akihito. Akehito. What's your name? Zuko looked over to Itoshi, and Itoshi slowly, deliberately spelled out his name in sign. Zuko copied, somewhat sloppily, to Akihito, and Itoshi hid a smile behind a glass of water his father had left out. Suddenly, she gasped, eyes lighting up. Zuko jumped. You are Zuko! Zuku! Hitoni told me about you! A slow smile appeared on Zuko's face, and Itoshi's breath caught. Damn his gay heart. Damn it. Fuck. You're quirkless. Zuko's smile froze. Just like me. Izuku hadn't really known what to expect when he came over to Toshi's at nearly 3 in the morning. It wasn't exactly an insomniac father, and it definitely wasn't this. All of Mei's lessons about how to talk to people curled up and died in his brain the moment those innocent words left the girl's mouth. Shinso-chan kept smiling, though. Another quirkless person. A child. Memories of his own childhood swelled in his chest, dread creeping in his veins as he feared for the girl. You're just a worthless Deku. No, he wasn't Deku. He was Izuku. He mouthed the words more than really said them, slightly fearing what Hitoshi would say if he heard, despite how irrational he knew it was. That makes us the strongest people on Earth, he affirmed to the small girl. Really? Her blue eyes went wide. Even as strong as All Might? His mouth tasted bitter at the mention of the hero. Even stronger than All Might. Izuku corrected gently. Her eyes filled with sudden tears, and his heart seized before she crashed into his chest. Hidoni, I want to keep him! She announced loudly. Izuku looked over at Toshi, who was grinning widely. Tap her spine twice. Toshi instructed with a snicker. That means you agree with her. Izuku felt his face heat a bit, but tapped the girl's spine twice, and she made a high squeal sound, hugging him tighter. Eventually, she broke away and danced up the stairs, apparently intent on going back to bed, and Izuku felt more exhausted than he had in years. Then he remembered the reason he'd come, and he wasn't tired anymore. He went back to making coffee. He and Toshi ended up sitting on the couch, talking about whatever came to mind and just rambling on. Hey, Toshi, what's up? Can you teach me sign? The students smiled to themselves, their eyes tracking Bakugou Katsuki as he approached. The information they had now taken far too long to get after the initial report. Finding blacked out names was difficult for a reason. It fucking came extra. He growled. The fuck you want? Their voice was smooth, as stained, when they respond. It's not about what I want. It's about what you want, isn't it? His hand spasmed, a sure sign of his agitation with them. And what the fuck would that be? They looked Bakugo dead in the eyes, not bothering to hide the smirk plastered on their face. Gotcha. For a certain quirkless runt to get what's coming to him. I went from having a reservoir of, 9 videos actually, to I got 2 jobs and now my reservoir is as low as 2 days. Like 2 videos. I have 2 days. So if I get sick, I'm fucked. Which is why I'm trying to build my reservoir again. So hold on to me. Hold on. Okay, I'm trying to get the hang of this, okay? Alright, okay. Okay. Also, I like that Hitoshi has a quirkless sister. That's super, super cute, super, super nice. I don't have much to say, so I'm just gonna end this quite quickly. As always, my raindrops, so make sure to eat, sleep, drink water, take your meds. Have a wonderful day or night. Link to my Discord server and socials are down in the description. Subscribe to see more of my content, and thank you so much for watching.